Resuming debate. Reprise au débat. The Honourable Member Davenport.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will be sharing my time with the member for Winnipeg North. It is an absolute honour for me to speak on today's Opposition Day motion, re-inflation and taxation, on behalf of the residents of my riding of Davenport. Our federal government understands that Canadians are being hit hard by rising prices, and more importantly, we are taking effective action to meaningfully support Canadians so that they can deal with this challenge. Inflation, Madam Speaker, is a global phenomenon that is being driven by unprecedented supply chain disruptions resulting from COVID-19 pandemic, not to mention the severe commodity disruptions arising from Russia's brutal and illegal invasion of Ukraine. It's a complex and multifaceted problem, and with today's motion for debate, the Honourable Opposition is offering what appears to be simple solutions. But unfortunately, Madam Speaker, the proposed solutions are not simple. Rising prices are the product of market forces, and these market forces are powerful. Taxes on gasoline and diesel, for example, represent only a very small portion of the total price that Canadians pay at the pump. So cutting them, as the opposition is proposing, would be ineffective in protecting consumers from these powerful global market forces. So even if our federal government were to cut gas prices in Canada by 5% today by removing the GST on gasoline and diesel, the benefits to consumers would be completely wiped out by market forces within a matter of days. The federal government would then be in an uneasy position of having spent tens or hundreds of millions of dollars trying to unsuccessfully fight powerful market forces over which it has completely no control. So, Madam Speaker, instead of proposing unrealistic and ineffective solutions, our federal government is focused on implementing realistic measures to help families make ends meet. And we've been doing so since we were first elected in late 2015. Our government has already cut taxes for the middle class while raising them on the wealthiest 1%. We've also increased support for families and low-income workers through programs such as the Canada Child Benefit and the Canada Worker Benefit. Thanks to the Canada Child Benefit, 9 out of 10 Canadian families have more money to help with the costs of caring for their children than they did with previous benefits. And our expanded Canada Workers Benefit, which provides support to low-income workers and also encourages many to enter the workforce, the Canada Workers Benefit will support an estimated 1 million additional Canadians, which could mean $1,000 more per year for a full-time minimum wage worker. And, Madam Speaker, our financial support for Canadians doesn't stop there. In Budget 2021, our federal government laid out an ambitious plan to provide Canadian parents with, on average, $10 a day regulated childcare spaces for children under 6 years old. And in less than a year, we've reached agreements with all provinces and territories. This means that by the end of this year, 2022, families across Canada will have seen their childcare fees reduced by an average of 50%. That is huge, Madam Speaker. That's an average of $6,000 in savings per child for families in provinces like Ontario, where my riding of Davenport's located. And these are not savings that will appear in 5 or 10 years, Madam Speaker. These are savings that is going to occur by the end of this year. Over the past weekend, Madam Speaker, I had the chance to meet many parents across the riding, and they were very excited about the National Childcare Plan and very much appreciated the additional dollars that's going into their pockets that's going to help cover their living costs. By 2026, Madam Speaker, our National Childcare Plan will mean an average childcare fee of $10 a day for all regulated childcare spaces across Canada, meaning thousands of dollars in savings for families across Canada. To support vulnerable Canadians at the other end of the demographic spectrum, we have increased the Guaranteed Income Supplement top-up benefit for low-income single seniors. We've enhanced the GIS earnings exemption, and we are increasing old age security for Canadians aged 75 and older in July this year. This 10% increase will provide more than $766 in additional benefits to full pensioners over the first year. About 3.3 million Canadian seniors will benefit from this. No action will be required on their part. They will automatically receive the payment if they are eligible. And this is the first permanent increase to the old age security pension since 1973, other than adjustments due to inflation. Seniors, Madam Speaker, in my riding of Davenport are really happy to hear this. They've been struggling with their fixed incomes, they've been struggling with rising costs, and they are so happy to hear of this significant increase, which will have an impact on affordability in their lives. Madam Speaker, seniors and Canadians who receive federal government support and/or benefits will also be happy to note that most of our federal government programs are indexed to inflation in order to protect Canadians from the impact of inflation. So the government indexes the Canada Child Benefit to inflation, as well as the Canada Pension Plan, Old Age Security, the Guaranteed Income Supplement, the Goods and Services Tax Credit, and other benefits for the most vulnerable Canadians. And to further offset the impact of inflation and make life more affordable to Canadians, we've increased the basic personal amount that Canadians can earn before paying federal income tax. And to ensure this support is targeted at the middle class, the benefits of the increased basic personal amount are phased out for high-income taxpayers. So, Madam Speaker, when this measure is fully implemented next year, single individuals will pay $300 less in tax each year, and families will pay $600 less each year. So there's a number of ways that our federal government is working, is implementing in order to support families, in order to support Canadians to deal with the affordability crisis that is currently underway in Canada. Our federal government is also returning the direct proceeds from the federal carbon pollution pricing system to their province or territory of origin, with most of these proceeds going to families in those jurisdictions. In fact, in jurisdictions that do not have their own pricing system consistent with the federal benchmark criteria, which is Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, approximately 90% of direct proceeds from the fuel charge are being returned to residents in those provinces through the climate action incentive payments. In 2022-2023, these increased payments mean a family of four will receive $745 in Ontario, $832 in Manitoba, and $1,079 in Alberta. In addition, families in rural and small communities are eligible to receive an extra 10%. So the reality is that as a result of these climate action incentive payments, most households are getting back more than what they're paying in increased costs that they face from the federal carbon pollution pricing system. What's more, the remaining fuel charge proceeds are being used to support small businesses, farmers, Indigenous groups, and other organizations. And going forward, the federal carbon price will continue to be revenue neutral for the Government of Canada. And at the same time, Madam Speaker, we are ensuring that taxes are appropriate and fair. Our federal government that knows that those who can afford to buy expensive cars, planes, and boats can also afford to pay a bit more. And Canadians agree. Our government campaigned on this promise in 2019 and 2021 and was elected to enact this. To that end, we're following through on this commitment to introduce a tax on the sale of new luxury cars and aircraft with a retail sale price over $100,000 and on new boats over $250,000. And the revenues raised by this tax can be used to offset costs for Canadians and invest in a strong economic recovery that supports their highest priorities. Another example of our government's commitment to tax fairness is our proposed tax on non-resident, non-Canadian-owned residential real estate that is considered to be vacant or underused, which would become effective as of January 1st, 2022. While this tax would not be paid by individual Canadian homeowners, it would definitely benefit Canadians. That's because the recent and rapid rise in housing prices has made finding an affordable place to call home increasingly difficult, and the underused housing tax would help support investments in housing affordability so that all Canadians can have a safe and affordable place to call home. Our recent budget introduced what may be the most ambitious plan to build new housing that Canada has ever seen, putting Canada on the path to double the number of new homes we build over the next 10 years. So in conclusion, Madam Speaker, the federal government has been seized and will continue to be seized on how we can make life more affordable for Canadians and providing offsets on the impact of inflation. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today on this important opposition motion on behalf of the residents of Davenport. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments?